Hello everyone and welcome back. Last video I told you that I had been diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma and that I had gone through a PET scan. I think I'd gotten that far with the last video, and that the very next day after that previous video was recorded, we were going to see the oncologist and find out the staging. And from that we would know where to go next and what our next steps would be, whether it would be chemo or radiation or nothing. At that point, we really didn't know. Felt very confident that it was probably going to be a stage 1, given the fact that I'm pretty healthy and don't have many health problems at all, actually, and at least I haven't in the last 25 years, so I felt that it would probably be stage 1. Anyway, before I get too far into that, I wanted to give you a little bit of information that I left out in the last video. I had a few people ask about it. Hodgkin's lymphoma, there are about 4 major subtypes of Hodgkin's lymphoma, and each one of them is treated differently. And it's really interesting when you look at the data that's out there about the chemo drugs that are available. There are just pages and pages of the different drugs that are available. And each one of the types, the subtypes of Hodgkin's lymphoma really requires a different treatment. There are certain things that they change in based on your age. One drug called bleomycin that's normally given in a case like this, they would not give to me because I'm a former smoker. I stopped smoking about 30 years ago or so, 35 years ago. And but that didn't matter. In this case, it was too dangerous because bleomycin actually has a pretty major negative impact on your lungs. So they had to substitute another drug. So anyway, the point is there are a lot of different choices there, and a lot of different things, different ways it can go. And it's based on the type in most cases. The type that I have, just to clear things up so everyone knows what the type is called nodular sclerosis, and that is one of the 4 types. So just wanted to clear that up so everyone knew what the story was. When we went to the doctor Friday morning, went to the oncologist, they took blood again as they normally would. In my case, they only took 3 this time. Last time was 11, only 3 this time. Took 3 vials of blood. We went in to see the doctor, and he started explaining to us what was going on, and the background of the types and that sort of thing, much of which we already knew, but the doctor still had some insight that we needed to have. And he was going through the different stages and where we would be. And at one point, I thought I misheard him. I felt like he was telling us what stages 1, 2, 3, and 4 were, and it dawned on me that he was saying that I had stage 4. So I asked him straight out, I said, "Are you saying that I have stage 4 lymphoma?" And he said, "Yes, I am. And I'm sorry about that." And of course, that was an absolute kick in the butt, kick in the stomach. We had no idea that it would be that bad. Now, like I said, I've been pretty healthy, particularly over the last 25 or so years after I fought prostate cancer, and figured that there would be little or no problems here. And he showed me the results of the PET scan, and it showed that I had cancer in not just the left side of my neck where they took out the lymph node last time, but on the right side of my neck, under my left armpit, in my chest, in my abdomen, and down into the groin area, the different lymph nodes down there, in my right hip, which explains some hip pains I've had over the last couple of months that the doctor told me was sacroiliitis, and also in my lumbar. And that just kind of floored me. I had no idea, of course. I had no pain. And the fact that I had almost 0 symptoms of this disease leading up to the day that I was diagnosed, I just couldn't believe that I was that far gone. One of the questions, too, that came up from my brother when I was going through all of this with him. He asked, "How could you have stage 4 lymphoma without having any signs?" And to be honest, I have no idea. I really don't. Everyone has a different set of signs, different symptoms of this disease. I've seen so many videos of people saying that, well, I finally went to the doctor after I had terrible night sweats for 2 months, or I finally went to the doctor when I scraped my legs raw using sandpaper to try to get rid of the itch and things like that. And I had none of that. So I was pretty surprised. It was, like I said, a real kick in the stomach. So anyway, it is stage 4, and we'll just have to deal with it. It's not a death sentence by any means. Like I said before, Hodgkin's lymphoma is certainly treatable and in many cases curable. I don't know if it's going to be curable for me. The prognostication, there's a series of about 7 or 8 items that they look at and to determine how likely you are to be able to be cured of this. Shows that I have some negative things. One is my age. One is my gender. I'm male, and this is much more, I won't say much more, it's more serious for males and more likely that males will get this disease and have a worse time of it. And there are a few other things that fit in there. So, there are some negatives on that side, but it's certainly not a death sentence. It can be curable, and I expect that it's going to be curable in my case, even though the doctor kind of wavers on that point. He says it's treatable, and being treatable, it's the goal is to extend my life. Well, I also have heard of quite a few people who've had stage 4, and they're still around 20 years later. So I'm not put off at all by the statistics. I'm just looking at who I am and what I think I can accomplish and achieve by fighting this thing, and I have every intention of doing it. Those of you who know me know that I'm a fighter. I will stand up for what I believe in, even if it gets other people a little pissed off at me. But it's just who I am. And so this disease is just going to have to get pissed off at me. And that'll be fun to watch. So anyway, the next step was a couple of more tests I had to take. I have to have an echocardiogram. I'm going to have that in the morning, and I'm assuming it's to just see if there is, make sure the heart is not enlarged. I've never had a problem with my heart. Blood pressure has always been very low. I just, everything seems to be okay. But of course, I was pretty wrong when it came to the diagnosis of this disease. So who knows? But anyway, they'll do an echocardiogram tomorrow. I had to go through a brain scan. I'm assuming that was to make sure one was there. But in addition to that, they also, I think, wanted to see if the cancer had spread to my brain. I don't know. I've never heard of any cases that this kind of a cancer actually spread to the brain. It's generally in other organs, the spleen, the bones, possibly the liver. Every now and then, maybe a minor invasion into the lungs, but I've never heard of anything in the brain. So I don't expect anything out of that either. And I should get those results, I hope, tomorrow when I go for my echocardiogram. The other thing is I have to have a port installed, and for those of you who don't know what it is, its actual name is a portocatheter, but it's called a port. And what it is, it's kind of like it's a catheter that is attached. They actually go under your skin, and they run a tube up under your skin and into a major artery, and that's where it stays. And on this end down here, where they put it in my chest, is a little, about the size of a quarter, maybe a little bigger, and maybe about a ½ inch thick. But it fits under the skin, and the skin actually grows over it, so that once it's in place, you'll be able to actually see it. You just see a big lump on my chest, but that's actually the input port for the chemotherapy. And every time I go for chemo, they will put that the tube that comes from the chemo drugs itself, they'll just insert using a needle right into that port, and that way the drugs will go directly into my vein. This center does not use IVs. Some do, but this one does not. There's a danger in 2 of the chemo drugs that I'm going to be on, burning my skin. If any of the liquid gets on my skin, or if it should get into the tissues, it can burn very bad. So they don't even use that. They only use the port. So I have to go get a port installed. And for those who may be a little bit not too familiar here, let me put something up here on the screen so you can take a look at it. And you see it's what I'm talking about. It's just got a tube to it, and that tube actually goes under my skin up into the artery, and it can stay there for a long time. There are people who have had it there for 2 or 3 years. I expect it's normally put in just for administering the chemo and drawing blood at other times, and then taken out after the chemo is over. I'm going to have 12 rounds of chemo. That's not going to be fun, but 12 rounds of chemo that will, every 2 weeks, I'll have to go in. The state of the art now is much different than it used to be, I understand. They do give me some pretty decent drugs for nausea, in addition to, well, and that's actually given to me in the IV or in the port before they ever administer the chemo. And also I have 2 drugs at home that are good for nausea, and they're not known as Mary Jane, so they're just regular prescription pills. So hopefully that will be taken care of. Of course, I will lose my hair. Lucky me. I will lose my hair. Being an old man like I am, though, I'm looking forward to all the hair in my ears falling out and in my nose. That'll be a plus here. But all the hair, including my eyebrows, my eyelashes, I'm going to kind of look like a bowling ball, I think. You know, you put your thumb here and the fingers in the eyes, and I have to laugh about it. But anyway, that's the way the drugs will affect me. Probably make me pretty tired for a couple of days. The oncology nurse said that typically I will have a pretty rough time of it, probably days 3 and 4, maybe starting a little bit on 5, where I'll have very low energy, could be nauseated if the drugs aren't working the way they should. Other than that, there's not a ton of side effects to this nowadays. It's just a matter of getting through a couple of days of exhaustion, and I probably won't be worth much during those days. I've tried to schedule this so those days will fall on the weekend, because I do continue and plan on continuing to do my job as managing director of the Ohio Valley chapter of the Club Managers Association. That is a job that I can do from here at home on my computer, and I'm in my office right now where I do all of my work. I can do it here. I have no reason to believe that I can't continue to do it for as long as I want through this chemo, because there's only very limited periods of time that I'll be so tired or exhausted or whatever that I can't even get into my office to work. But other than that, I think it's probably not going to be that tough on me. I expect it will not be fun, but I don't expect it to be that tough. So that's the plan, to go through the chemo, and I'm going to try to get some short videos and some just some information. When I'm doing this, I like to not only bring you up to date with where I am and what's going on, but to also educate. There are going to be people watching this. I hope as the years go along, there are going to be people watching this, and I especially hope it's older people, but those who watch it are going to be wondering about things, and they may have never had an experience like it, and so I hope to be able to educate them and provide them with information that will help them. That's pretty much it. Please feel free to leave comments for me, ask questions. I have absolutely no problems answering any questions. You can leave them below if you would like. If you happen to have my phone number, please feel free to call me at any time. If you have any questions or thoughts on it, just let me know, and I'll be glad to do that. Subscribe and click on the little bell. That will help you, that'll make sure that you get notified whenever I posted a new video. I intend to do this on a fairly regular basis. Hopefully my health will hold up well enough and my strength will hold up, I'll be able to do it. So please feel free to do that. Leave comments if you would like. And I will probably do another video here in a few days after I've gone through the port placement and maybe even the first round of chemo. So I start chemo next Tuesday. I have the port put in on Monday, and I have the chemo installed or the chemo put in on Tuesday. I believe that's December 29th. So I should have a pretty lazy and zonked out kind of a new year this year. So anyway, Merry Christmas to all of you, and I hope to hear from you. Please feel free to contact me, and I look forward to your comments and your questions. and I will see you next time around. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.